Hello everybody, this is City Scrapper. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have a layout for you that I made using the April My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit, and I think this is my 6th layout using the kit. For this layout I'm using a beautiful piece of 49 in market paper, and then I'm using all of these fussy cut out shapes and die cuts that are from the watercolor floral collection made by Prima. And everything here is all from the April kit. So you can see I'm fussy cutting a little butterfly out, and I'm inking the edges of all of these various images using a dauber and some distress oxide in seedless preserves. This is the photo that I'm going to be using. This is a photo of my younger daughter, and for a very brief time she had purple hair, so I thought that her purple hair would go along well with the color scheme here. And I've been kind of on a kick of using round photos lately, and my favorite tool for cutting out circles of this size is my Creative Memories circle cutter. I have them in 3 different sizes. You know, they came in a set, and they are something that has been in my stash for a very long time, and I use them all the time. They're very good for cutting out circles, and they are also good because you can cut a mat that's a little bit larger to go behind your photo, and that's what I did here. I cut it out of white cardstock. So you can see here that I'm using every little bit of some scraps of foam that I had, and that's to give the photo a little bit of dimension. You see behind the photo there's that large piece of white paper that's very oddly shaped that I just cut out, and I'm going to be using that as the base for all of these die cuts and fussy cut pieces. I'm going to attach them down to the piece of white cardstock, and then that will enable me to move the whole large cluster around the background. So it will help me with placement, because sometimes if I make a cluster on the background, I might end up not liking where I put it, and this solves that problem. And then it also enables me to just pick up the entire cluster or the entire unit and do some mixed media in the background, and then I can also take the cluster and bring it back on top of the background as I'm doing the mixed media, and then that will show me where I want the mixed media to go. So it's something that I like to do. It works for me, probably because I'm always looking for ways that I can change and switch up the layout as I go around. I do often change my mind about where I place things, so this helps. You can see that I am popping up some of the die cuts on some fun foam. I'm not going to pop up everything. I like the way it looks when some of the embellishments are popped up and then some of them lay flat. I just love that die cut of that fox, and I was looking for a place to put it on the other layouts that I made, but I just couldn't find one, so I was really happy to finally get him attached down to this layout. And I spend a lot of time moving these florals around. There was a whole set of floral die cuts, and these larger ones were in that set, and I really like these large flowers, and I think it always looks nice when you have some larger elements and some smaller elements. So I mentioned that the background paper is of 49 and market pattern paper. It's such a great combination to use these 49 and market papers with the Prima watercolor floral collection. I feel that the colors go together so well. And when I first started using the 49 and market papers, I really didn't know how to use them. I felt like I was kind of out of my element. But since I've really fallen in love with these papers, because I feel like maybe I was trying too hard to alter them, I feel like you really don't have to do a lot to these papers. They're so beautiful. The colors are so vibrant and the images are so beautiful. You can do so many things to scrapbooking paper, and so many people, I've seen some beautiful things they've done to 49 and market papers, but I feel like you don't really have to. They're just statements on their own. So for this particular layout, I'm really not doing a lot of mixed media in the backgrounds. The focus is really going to be on all these rather large florals that are in the foreground, and the background, like I said, it's beautiful on its own. I don't know what I would do to it to make it so much better. I add a little bit of mixed media, but really very little for me. I decided to move that die cut that says, "Do what makes your soul shine," from the upper left-hand corner to the lower right-hand corner. I want to leave an open space in the upper left-hand corner. I do put a small cluster up there. You could see I put a few flowers up there, but I want the larger cluster to be in the lower right-hand corner. So I use the die cut with the phrase on it, and then I'm also using a fairly large cluster of flowers. The photo that I'm using for this layout, as I said, it's a photo of my younger daughter. It was taken during a trip to Rochester, New York, where my older daughter used to go to college. And just looking at this photo, I'm so relieved that she is not there anymore. It's very far from my house. It's about 5 hours away, and I always disliked her being so far away. So she's long done with her undergraduate degree, and she's living back at home now, and I'm so happy about that. But we went to visit her on my younger daughter's birthday, so this was a picture of her on her birthday, and she was a good sport about going upstate and spending the weekend in Rochester with her sister and not with her friends. You can see here that I'm popping up a number of these die cuts on some foam. And as I had said before, I really like to have some elements that are popped up and some that are not. I always like to pop up the butterflies. I always talk about that. I love butterflies. I love adding them to scrapbook layouts, and I almost always pop them up if I can. A few moments ago, you may have seen that I took a photo of the layout with my phone. I do that all the time. That is to help me remember where everything went when I go to reassemble the layout again. You can see here that I'm putting down some modeling paste. I mixed together some white modeling paste and white acrylic paint. And the white paint is just to make the modeling paste a more true white color. So I'm using the stencil that was included in the My Creative Scrapbook kit, and I believe that this was the stencil from last month's kit, but I just love this stencil. I love the way it adds just a little bit of texture to the background. And I'm just adding it around in a couple of spots, trying not to overdo it. I just want to have a little bit of something added to the background. Now I'm adding some white splatters. That is something that I learned from, I'm not sure if it was from Missy Whitten or Marilyn Rivera or both of them, but I love both of them, and they both add white splatters to their background, and I love doing the same thing. Here I'm adding some green splatters to the background. I just wanted to add a little bit more of the green. There was already a lot of purple and a lot of blue on the background, so I decided that the green splatters would be the best choice to add a little bit more of that color. So even though I have that large cluster that's attached down now, I still have a couple of little flowers that have to be attached. Just putting some ATG adhesive on the back and positioning them all around the photo and along the cascade on the bottom. So now finally, all of those paper flowers are attached down, and I'm just going to be tucking in a couple of the prima flowers, the dimensional ones, in a couple little spots. You could see that I made a triangle out of them. And this kind of the middle point of the triangle is the photo, and that helps to bring some attention to the photo. And I really like the pattern on those dimensional flowers. They had all of the colors that are in this layout. I fussed around with the bottom of that cluster a lot. I feel that in order to make it look like the cluster kind of flows, that it should get thinner as you get toward the bottom of it. So I like to spend a little bit of time whenever I have this kind of configuration of flowers, figuring out how to position all the flowers so that it gets thinner as it gets further away from the center of the cluster, and make it look like it's flowing across the page. I'm adding a couple of other little touches. I just put down another flower, and now I'm taking this really teeny tiny little flower and I'm popping it up, and I'm putting it just outside the large cluster. And I like the way that looks. I feel like it kind of extends the cluster out a little bit and transitions it into the background. And I'm sorry about the lighting there. I don't know what happened. It got a little light just for a little while. I attached down that, I guess it's a butterfly or a moth. And then this little bow on the bottom, I fussy cut off the white border, and I just attach that flat down to the die cut. And you can see here I have some purple self-adhesive pearls, and they are, I think, the perfect color to go with this layout. It's very unusual for me. I did not add any die cut florals to this layout. I just went with the flowers and I did not add any additional leaves. I'm really happy with the way it looks though. I feel that that's a nice touch, but on this particular layout, I didn't feel it was necessary. I'm adding pearls in different sizes and not too many of them, just a couple here and there. I add some on all three clusters, some on the clusters and then some like right around the clusters. I put 3 tiny pearls on the bow. And now I'm using a sponge and some heavy gesso, and I'm just very, very lightly dabbing the gesso on. And this is just kind of bring all the elements together, and it also brings some brightness to the layout, but this layout has a lot of white in it. But I still like to do this technique because I feel that it just adds a little bit of texture and it adds cohesion to the whole thing. I did not go crazy with the white gesso, but I think just a little bit really helps. And I already added white splatters, but I wanted to add some more because I don't think you can ever have enough white splatters. I used to try not to get the white splatters on the die cuts and the other embellishments, but now I really like the way it looks with the splatters on there. So I added some to the background, and now I'm adding some to the embellishments as well. I didn't want the splatters, or too many splatters on the little fox, so I wiped those off. But I did want some extra white in some areas that there were no splatters, so I added those. And now I'm adding some Bow Bunny glitter paste in sugar color, and I'm just adding it to a couple of little areas on the background. I don't want to go crazy. I just added to the dimensional flowers and the butterflies, and then I also added it to that bow. And when I say that the color is sugar, it really isn't a color. It's just clear, but it adds a nice layer of glitter. I also use some heavy duty gel medium in matte to attach down those flowers just to make sure that they don't fall off later on. I'm cutting off the branding strip, and that completes this layout. Thank you so much for watching my video, everybody. I really appreciate it. I hope that if you like this video, you'll give it a thumbs up. In the description box, you'll find a link to the My Creative Scrapbook website, and you can check out all of their beautiful kits. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the likes and the lovely comments. I really appreciate it, everyone. I hope that you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.